Here's what's coming up on The World Today. Myanmar civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi makes her first appearance in public in court via video conferencing as she has 2 new charges slammed against her. Former U.S. President Donald Trump says he has no plans to launch a new political party as this will split the Republican Party vote. Plus, former French President Nicolas Sarkozy is found guilty of trying to bribe a judge and of influence peddling. Well, welcome to the program. I'm Amarachi Ubani here in Lagos. Let's kick things off now in Myanmar, where civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi was seen for the first time today since her arrest. She appeared in court via video link to answer 2 charges against her. A court announced 2 new charges. It's been a month since she was detained following the military takeover on February 1st.
Aung San Suu Kyi's appearance in court via video conferencing today is also the first time she has been seen by her lawyers since her detention. The 75-year-old looked good in health during her appearance, according to one of her lawyers. 2 more charges were added to the ones filed against her after the coup. One of the new charges was under a section of a colonial-era penal code prohibiting publication of information that may cause fear or harm, and the other under a telecommunications law stipulating licenses for equipment. Meanwhile, protesters are back on the streets, facing off with the police, like they did over the weekend, as the demonstrations continue to get violent. Protesters had earlier built makeshift barricades to prevent police from entering a neighborhood in Yangon. Police fired tear gas towards protesters while multiple people sustained rubber bullet injuries. Violence fled in various parts of the country on Sunday, and police opened fire on crowds in several areas of the biggest city of Yangon after tear gas and warning shots failed to clear protesters, demanding the restoration of Aung San Suu Kyi's government. At least 18 people were killed across the country. At some point on Monday, residents in Yangon threw water out of their windows to help douse the effect of tear gas after security forces fired at protesters in the Myanmar city. Footage carried by local media showed residents living in an apartment building pouring water numerous times out of their window as tear gas fills up the area, with authorities adopting a more heavy-handed response.
Pro-democracy protesters today gathered outside a courthouse in Hong Kong where 47 activists faced charges of conspiracy to commit subversion. Police told the crowds at the West Kowloon Magistrates Court that they are in breach of controversial national security law and they face fines. 39 men and 8 women aged between 23 and 64 were among a group of 55 people arrested in dawn raids last month. The government says they had helped run an unofficial primary election last June to pick opposition candidates for 2020 legislative elections, which the government postponed. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has no plans to launch a new political party, as this would split Republican Party votes. He said this much in his first speech since Joe Biden's inauguration, hinting he just might run for office again in 2024. He was made speaker at the Conservative Political Action Conference, America's largest meeting of conservative activists and politicians. Our Washington correspondent Maria Bird has more on this and other recent happenings in the United States.
We have a plan to roll it out as quickly as Johnson & Johnson can make it.
While the U.S. prepares to begin vaccinating Americans with the recently approved Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine, and the White House celebrates the 50th million American to be vaccinated, the former President Donald Trump takes center stage at the Conservative Political Action Conference.
All across our country, I stand before you today to declare that the incredible journey we've begun together We went through a journey like nobody else. There's never been a journey like it. There's never been a journey so successful. We began it together 4 years ago, and it is far from being over. And I want you to know that I'm going to continue to fight right by your side. We will do what we've done right from the beginning, which is to win. We're not starting new parties. Who knows? I may even decide to beat them for a third time, okay?
Former President Donald Trump infers that he may run in 2024 during his 90-minute speech, where he praised his administration and discredits the Biden administration's foreign and domestic policy decisions. Comes in the wake of the anticipated announcement by President Biden on U.S.-Saudi Arabia relations.
Biden, are you going to punish the Crown Prince?
There'll be announcements on Monday of what we're going to be doing with Saudi Arabia, General.
The United States continues to manage through a myriad of pandemics: health, political discourse, and foreign relations. From Washington, Maria Bird, Channel Television News.
Let's go now to U.S. foreign relations expert Calvin Dark is in Washington. Calvin, great to see you as always. This CPAC was reintegration party for the former president. Back into the political scene, Does it translate, however, to confidence that Trump could likely be the candidate to beat in 2024?
Well, I have to start out by saying when I started watching it, I had a little bit of PTSD, just because, not even because of policies, but just it reminded me of how chaotic the Trump administration was and whatever he decided to do. I also was kind of unimpressed because I thought, someone who hasn't been on Twitter and hasn't had to really be in the public eye for a little over a month, that he would have come, this strong with what he's going to do. And honestly, with the speech that he gave, if you could have taken parts of it and said it was given in December, and it would have made sense. He talked just as he did after the election. So will he be a force in 2024? Here are the two key things to keep in mind about that. One is they did their straw poll, and he won, I think, about 55%. But what that shows you is, and the CPAC convention, that's the Trumpiest of the Trump supporters of the conservative side. And if only slightly more than half of them want to support him, what does that say about the rest of the Republican Party and independents? Second thing is, we won't really know, and I don't think Donald Trump will make any announcement before November 2022, because that's our midterm elections. And he has made a very big case that he's a kingmaker, that he is going to recruit and support financially and through his platforms policymakers that will run against Republicans in office now that didn't support him. Now, if he is able to win with those candidates, then he will be a force for 2024. If he can't, then all of those people like Nikki Haley, Mike Pompeo, and the list goes on, who are afraid to speak out against him now, they won't have anything to worry about because they will see the limits of his power.
Yeah, I can agree even more. But, he did talk about his political future, the launch of a new political party. I don't know how that got out, but he says that's fake news. This is classic Trump. But if there is anything we have seen these past years, Trump's next moves have always often been announced in this manner. He throws it out there, he jokes about it, and then later on he sits back to watch how it is received, right?
Yes, but believe it or not, this is one thing that I think it was kind of definitive about not starting another party. And here's a simple reason why. One is he's now been convinced by those around him that we haven't had a successful third party in anybody's lifetime that's living now here in the United States. So even if he was successful in making a third party that would be a force, it wouldn't be a winning one, and he's all about winning. Secondly, it's too much work. If you're going to start a new party, you've got to have a policy, you've got to have platforms, you've got to actually work at getting people to move and do something that they haven't done. So I think that one's pretty sure. Now, I think he's going to focus his energies on how much control he can have over the Republican Party.
Indeed, but he also took a swing at the Biden administration. We didn't hear that in the clip there, but he was still spewing lies about how he won the election, criticizing Joe Biden for reversing his hard line on immigration and border security. He also says, and I'm quoting him here, when he says, none of us even imagined how bad they would be and how far left they would go. What sort of impact do you think this kind of talk by the former president at this time could have on people's perception of the new administration, knowing that, as you rightly pointed out, more than 80 million people voted for him in the last election?
Well, I'll tell you, it actually, I think, strengthens Joe Biden's case for what he's doing, and here's why. If he had just left it as they are more left than I would have been, they are undoing my policies that were working, that would have made sense. I can understand somebody doing that, making that argument. But when he said, I think Joe Biden has had the most disastrous first month of any U.S. president, nobody thinks that. Even the people that don't like Joe Biden, the superlative was too much. And when he criticizes Joe Biden for things that haven't happened yet, people realize that he's not serious. They can't really take his criticism seriously because he's basically throwing anything at the wall and see if it sticks. So I think that helps Joe Biden because he didn't come out with the only thing he came out with that was remotely believable if you support his policies was the turnaround on immigration. But the rest of it was hyperbole that I don't think people take seriously.
Yes, we'll have to wait and see. Calvin, always a pleasure having you on all of our shows.
Thank you.
Days after a U.S. intelligence report indicted Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, his fiancée of the slain journalist, that is, Hatice Cengiz, has called for Prince Mohammed to be punished. The Saudi government denied the U.S. reports released just before the weekend. Cengiz says if the Crown Prince is not punished, it will forever signal that the main culprits can get away with murder. U.S. President Joe Biden on Friday announced a visa ban on some Saudis believed to have been involved in the killing and placed sanctions on others that would freeze their U.S. assets and generally bar Americans from dealing with them. Biden is expected to make an announcement today regarding whether or not the U.S. will be sanctioning Prince Mohammed directly. A bit more in the Middle East. Iran says the United States should lift sanctions first if it wants to hold talks with Tehran to salvage the 2015 nuclear deal with world powers the former President Donald Trump abandoned. President Joe Biden has said Washington is ready for talks about both nations resuming compliance with a pact under which Tehran secured an easing of sanctions by limiting its nuclear work. But each side wants the other to move first. The West fears Iran wants to build nuclear weapons, while Tehran says it has never been its goal. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson Saeed Khatibzadeh says the country has not had any bilateral discussions with the United States and there will be no change in Iran's stance if the United States does not change course from the wrong path it has taken. In another development, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has blamed Iran for an explosion aboard an Israeli-owned ship in the Gulf of Oman last week, an accusation rejected by Tehran. The vehicle carrier, MV Helios Ray, was hit between Thursday night, February 25th, and Friday, February 26th in the morning by a blast above the waterline that a U.S. official said ripped holes in both sides of its hull, according to an Israeli official. The limpet mines were used. Asked if Israel would retaliate, Mr. Netanyahu said, my policy, Iran is Israel's biggest enemy. I am determined to fend it off for striking at it all over the region. Iran has denied involvement, with a foreign ministry spokesperson telling a news conference the security of the Persian Gulf is extremely important for Iran. Former French President Nicolas Sarkozy has been found guilty of trying to bribe a judge and of influence peddling. He's also been handed a 3-year jail term with 2 years suspended. Sarkozy refused to speak with journalists as he left the courtroom after the verdict was announced. The former president, who led France from 2007 to 2012, had denied any wrongdoing, saying he was a victim of a witch hunt by financial prosecutors who used excessive means to snoop on his affairs. Retired from politics but still influential among conservatives, Sarkozy has 10 days to appeal the ruling. is the second former president in modern France, to the late Jacques Chirac, to be convicted of corruption. Still watching the world today. Coming up after the break. Black Panther star Chadwick Boseman wins posthumous Golden Globe for his final movie, amidst announcement of other winners. Stay with us. Welcome back. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson says people should not be overly concerned about the new variant of COVID-19 first seen in Brazil, found in the UK. He says health officials offer that it is not a threat to the wider public. And this comes as UK's border controls are criticised following detection of the new variant. Here's more in our global update.
The British Prime Minister has been speaking about the impact of the pandemic on the UK, saying there was no reason to think that COVID-19 vaccines were ineffective against new variants of the coronavirus. Health authorities had said on Sunday that up to 6 cases had been detected in Britain of the P1 variant identified in the Brazilian city of Manaus, against which current vaccines appeared to be less effective. Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo and First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo have become the first people in the country to receive their coronavirus vaccines today. The President, with the First Lady, Vice President and Second Lady, pledged to take the vaccine publicly to reassure citizens it was safe. President Akufo-Addo has called on people to ignore conspiracy theories surrounding coronavirus vaccines ahead of the launch of its nationwide inoculation campaign against the virus on Tuesday, March 2nd. Well, over in India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi today received the coronavirus vaccine as the country opened its vaccination program for the wider population. The country launched its vaccination drive on January 16, but it was limited to healthcare workers and frontline staff. Now, those above the age of 60 and those between 45 and 59 but have comorbidities can get vaccinated. Finally, New Zealand has recorded no new cases of COVID-19 today, as Auckland, the country's biggest city, enters its second day of lockdown. The 7-day lockdown imposed by Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern on a city of 2 million was prompted by just a single new COVID-19 case, reinforcing the New Zealanders' strict go hard, go early response throughout the crisis.
It's day one for the new World Trade Organization Director General, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, in Geneva. And she began with a meeting of its top decision-making body, the General Council. Its 164 member states will discuss topics such as trade rules on COVID-19 vaccine distribution, which Okonjo-Iweala has identified as a priority. On the agenda was also the date and venue for its major ministerial conference, which was due to be held in Kazakhstan last year, but was delayed due to the pandemic. Dr. Okonjo-Iweala has said she hopes that that event will provide a venue for clinching various deals, including on cutting fisheries subsidies and reform of the WTO's top appeals body, which was paralyzed by former U.S. President Donald Trump's administration. Since the Director General's role holds few executive powers, some analysts question Dr. Okonjo-Iweala's ability to revive the body in the face of so many challenges, including U.S.-China trade tensions and growing protectionism heightened by the pandemic. Well, coming to our lighter stories of the world today, many children have had their education disrupted due to the global pandemic. All hope is not lost, regaining those precious moments of being in the classroom with teachers and classmates, as the internet can help remedy the situation. Since this is such an expensive venture, British painter Sacha Jaffrey, alongside Dubai Cares Organization, UNICEF and other collaborators are working to raise $30 million to help connect all schools in the world to the internet. Our correspondent, Mayowa Adegoke, who covered the historic event, reports.
Renowned British painter Sasha Jaffrey unveils his historic artwork, Journey of Humanity, in the presence of Emirati royalties and VIPs at the Atlantis Ballroom, where he created the masterpiece last year. Measuring about 2,000 square meters, the size of 2 football fields, the painting, now recognized by Guinness World Record as the largest art canvas and biggest social artistic philanthropic project in history, has been divided into 70 panels to be auctioned. Proceeds will be used to help children across the world.
Why aren't we connecting to the soul of the earth and the child inside us? Why? That's my question, and I hope the painting can answer it.
What is the plan? Should children in Nigeria, underprivileged children, expect to benefit from this?
In answer to your question, is the pregnant mother. You can only see her head there, but when you get up on the platform, you'll see her stomach. And inside her stomach is artwork from children from over 140 countries of the world. And millions of them are Nigerian.
Nigerian children, many of whom contributed artworks now embedded into Sasha's painting, will benefit from proceeds through the UNICEF and International Telecommunication Union ITU-backed GIGA, a project committed to connecting every school in the world to the internet. An estimated 1.7 billion children and 60 million teachers across the world were affected by disrupted education due to COVID.
We're going to hopefully impose that every country has to have policies for children. As they have the right for education, they have to have a right for connectivity. So whenever there's a large-scale disruption in the future for any reason, whether it's a pandemic, whether it's war, whether it's natural disaster, education does not get disrupted the way it did last March.
This royal unveiling ceremony marks the beginning of another phase for the project. With the ribbon cut at this royal unveiling, Sasha Jaffrey's Journey of Humanity will now gradually make its way into auction houses across the world to hopefully raise $30 million. The plan is to raise at least $30 million to help children across the globe. From here at the ballroom in Atlantis, Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, Mayowa Adegoke for Channels Television News.
Thanks, Mayowa. And we end the show in Hollywood as Nomadland and Borat's subsequent movie film were the big winners at Sunday's Golden Globe Awards. The night's top prize Best Drama Film went to Nomadland, which stars Frances McDormand as a homeless woman traveling through the American West. Chloe Zhao was named Best Director, becoming only the second female winner of the category in Globe's history after Barbra Streisand in 1983. Among other wins of the night were John Boyega, who was named Best Supporting Actor in a limited series for his portrayal of a pioneering black British officer, Leroy Logan, in an installment of Small Axe, Steve McQueen's landmark series of BBC films. Perhaps the most touching moment of the event on Sunday night was Chadwick Boseman posthumously being named Best Actor in a drama film for his performance in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. His wife, Taylor Simone Ledward, accepted the award on his behalf. The Black Panther star, as we remember, died last summer from colon cancer at the age of 43. And that's the world today. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani.